So, I have a confession to make. I've been using computers for a long time. It just dawned on me that I've been using computers for 25 years. My dad and I went to a Sears, which also sounds old, in 1996 in January, I think, and we picked up an Apple Performa something or other, whatever they made in early 96. And it was awesome. It was wonderful. Going from no computer to a computer was amazing. And even though that was a bad time in Apple's history and that computer, in retrospect, wasn't that great in the kind of pantheon of Apple devices, going from 0 computers to 1 computer was amazing. And so we loved that thing. We enjoyed the hell out of it. And one of the things that I've thought about recently, once that kind of dawned on me, is that if I was able to track down that old hard drive, which is I think is still at my parents' house, but if I was able to track it down, copy it all over to my new computer, like how much of the stuff could I actually still use? A lot of it would be junk, like all the apps and stuff wouldn't run. A lot of the files and documents, I think a good portion of them would actually still open. I could probably still open them, like an old ClarisWorks document might actually still open in Pages, but the recommendation for a lot of these things would be, okay, take those old files, open them in a modern app, and then save them as a more modern file type. But one of the things that wouldn't get that recommendation would be images. Any JPEGs that I have on those old computers, they just work. I could bring them over to my Mac, over to my iPad, over to my iPhone, they'd work. There wouldn't be any conversion I'd have to do, there wouldn't be any like future-proofing I'd have to do. It would just be, oh, just copy the file wherever you want and save it in Apple Photos, save it wherever, and it'll just work. And so this got me thinking about how we have these new image file types from kind of pushed by Apple and Google. They're both kind of standards, but pushed by Apple was HEIC. They kind of introduced this in iOS 11, where iPhone started shooting photos in this better compressed format that saved space and gave you better quality compared to JPEG, so you could get smaller file sizes at the same quality as JPEG, which was cool. And then on the other end, you have Google, who like 10 years ago at this point introduced WebP, which was basically the exact same idea, but the idea was to display these images on the web, and so you could have pages load faster because the images were smaller at the same quality as JPEG. And so both of these file types exist, but they're still both kind of inconvenient, right? Like macOS and Safari just started supporting WebP images like a few months ago. And HEIC images, even though Android has added support, Windows has added support, they're still kind of weird. They're still not supported everywhere and they still lead to issues. So I personally find myself taking these images that are HEIC or WebP, I'm always just kind of like rolling my eyes like, oh, okay. And then I have to convert them to a JPEG. And so JPEG is just this format that doesn't seem to want to go away. And that's kind of great. It's kind of great that it just is so solid that it works decades and decades later, whereas these other file types have kind of gone by the wayside. And so today I wanted to show you how you can, if you have these newer modern image formats, image files, you can convert them to JPEG. There's free apps that do this, there are paid apps that do it, but I want to show you how you can do it in Automator on your Mac and Shortcuts on your iPhone and iPad. So let's jump into it. So let's go ahead and do it on the Mac first. You'll see I've got this image here. It is, if I go to the info, an HEIC image taken on the iPhone 12 Pro, and just all the basic stuff, but it's HEIC. One of the interesting things, and one of the things that makes you know that JPEG is still kind of the standard, is if I drag this to my desktop, and again, this is on a brand new Mac, the newest Mac that Apple makes, saves it as a JPEG. It doesn't even save it as an HEIC. So this is a Mac running the default settings. I just opened it, again, got this a few weeks ago, started using it with the default settings. I haven't done anything to say prefer JPEG. It just assumes that if I'm saving it to my computer to use somewhere else, I want a JPEG. So that's interesting on its own, right? Now let's take a look at some example photos. So if I go here, I've got an HEIC one and a WebP one. And so the HEIC one opens in Quick Look, that's great. So does the WebP one. But if I want to make these into JPEGs, I can go ahead and right-click it. I'm going to do a quick action, convert to JPEG. Done. Right? That's it. So now it's a JPEG, HEIC example, JPEG. Same with this one. I can go ahead and do quick actions, convert to JPEG. Done. Right? Super simple, super quick. So how did I make that happen? So to do this, we have to go to Automator. So Automator is a cool automation app, kind of the precursor to Shortcuts that we have on iOS devices today. This is what lets you do some automation on your Mac. So we're going to make a new document. And so the important thing you want to do here is you want to create a quick action. That's how you get it into that actions section. So I'm going to go into there, and then you can just kind of start and do anything. This is a whole thing on its own, but basically what I want to do is type in convert as the action, and then I want to do change type of images. So when I bring that in, it's going to say, hey, this is going to make some changes to the file. Do you want to add a step that copies the file? So like you copy a version of the file that you are converting before you do anything. So at the end, you'll have an original version of it and the new updated version. I'm going to say no. I just want to update it in line. And so I can go ahead and do any of these file formats. I'm going to do JPEG. And then that's it. I can set an image icon for it. I like this one for image-based ones. I can set a color where I actually don't even know where this shows up. It just always seems to be black in the UI. But anyway, so this works when you get any image files in any application. You can specify just the Finder if you only want it to show there. And yeah, so that's really it. So I can go ahead and save it. So I can hit Command S to save it, and then whatever you save it as, that's going to show up in that menu that I showed earlier. So I can right click on an image, quick actions, and then convert to JPEG, scale image. We'll do test convert, right? So save it, right click, actions, test convert is already there. So that'll convert it to a JPEG. One of the other cool things you can do is if you go to options, you can show this action when the workflow runs. And so if I click that and save, that's going to update it. Now, if I go to these files here, and I'm just going to, sorry, I should have planned this better. I can go ahead and get rid of those JPEGs, don't need those anymore. So I have this HEIC image. If I right click it and do quick actions, test convert, now it gives me a pop-up with those options. So it defaults to JPEG, but I can also change it to an HEIC or a BMP or whatever I want. And so that's kind of cool if you're going to be converting it to general image types. Like maybe I want to convert it to a JPEG, right? So continue. That's going to do its thing. And then, for whatever reason, I want to convert it back to an HEIC. Now, you're going to lose quality every time you change an image's file type, but you can go ahead and change it to HEIC. There we go. And so now you've converted it back and forth. So you can go either direction. And if you do that option to show this action when the workflow runs, it'll give you the option to select any of these based on what you're doing. So whatever works for you works great there, but that's how you can convert images with Automator on the Mac. Let's check out the iPhone and iPad. So I'm going to record this next bit on the iPhone. You can do it on the iPad as well. I'm just recording the audio into the iPad, so I can't do them both at the same time. You don't care about that. Let's just get into it. I've got those same two files here in the Files app. I can also do it in the Photos app, but basically I can go ahead and go to this HEIC example. I can do info and see, yep, it's an HEIF sort of file, which with HEIC as the extension. So that's the exact sort of file that we want to change. So I can just hold down on it. I can do share. And then if I scroll all the way to the bottom to my actions, I see convert to JPEG is here. I tap on it. It asks me where I want to save it. I'm going to say right to the desktop, gives me the confirmation, and now I can see I have this new one here, HEIC example, and if I look at the info on it, you can see it's a JPEG, and so I've converted it to the file type that is more useful to me. I could do it with the WebP image as well, but I'm just going to skip that right now and show you how it works. So if I switch over to shortcuts, you can see I've got convert to JPEG right there at the top, and if I go into it, you can see basically you can choose to accept only images. I can do a media type of convert the shortcut input to a JPEG. There are some options here, so you can control the quality. I like to keep the quality pretty high, and then preserve metadata, yes or no. That's stuff like the location, the camera information. Do you want to preserve that when you convert it? And I generally do. But yeah, you can do that, and then you need to do something with that file, and so you want to save it to iCloud Drive. You can also do something like Photos. If you want to save it to the Photos app, I typically do it in the Files app, so that's what I do. But let's go ahead and make this real quick so you can kind of see how it works. This kind of assumes that you have a general knowledge of shortcuts and how it works on iOS, but basically you want to start an action, and I want to do convert. So I want to do convert image. There we go. So convert the shortcut input to a JPEG. I have other options here, actually more image options than on the Mac, which is kind of cool. But again, JPEG is the one that I want. You will all also see that you can do ask every time. So I can choose what format to do, and then you have to choose what to do with it. And so I want to go to documents, and I want to do save file. And so I'm going to save it to iCloud Drive, ask where to save, or I can have it automatically save in the same place every time. I like ask where to save, so it just goes somewhere easy. Go ahead and hit next. You can, of course, change the color as well as the glyph that shows up there. We'll do a chart. How about? There we go. Test convert. There we go. Done. So there it is. And there's actually one other thing I want to do. I want to hit the three dots here to convert it. I want to show in share sheet. That's really important. And then anything, no, let's just have it show up when I'm sharing an image, right? Okay, so that's only going to show it when I'm doing an image in the share sheet. So this WebP example should work just the same. I'll go to the info just to show you. It's a WebP image. And if I go here and share again and scroll down, I'll see test convert here with my little graph icon. That doesn't really make sense, but hey, it is identifiable now. I can tap it, and it's going to say, what format do you want to change it to? Let's do HEIF. Why not? Right? And there we go. Do I want to preserve the metadata? Yes. And now where do I want to save it? Save it to the desktop, which is where this file is. I'm going to X out of here. And there it is. So I'm assuming it's this one because it's bigger, but I can do info, and there we go. It's an HEIC image file that is fully converted. So again, I can convert it to anything. I think that other step of show me every time I don't really like, so I'm going to clear that and say just, yeah, convert it to JPEG. So it just converts it to JPEG, to that universal format that works everywhere. So that's how you do it on the iPhone as well as the Mac earlier. And yeah, that is a nice, powerful tool if you need the most flexibility in your images.